We continue now at the top of Daf Kufnun Tes Amud Aleph and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 159a. On the previous summit, the Gemara had a ruling that was sent from Eretz Yisrael, and the Gemara now reinterprets what exactly that ruling was. Rather, the ruling should be as follows. Itmar, it was stated, Ben shemachar b'nichsei aviv b'chaye aviv, if a son sells his father's property during the lifetime of his father, umeis, and then he dies. The idea over here is that the son dies before the father, and so it turns out that the son never really inherited that property from the father, so it was not his to sell. So beno motzi miyad halakucho. So then the son's son, that would be the grandson, he's able to take it away. He can take that property back from the buyers because the sale was not a good sale. V'zui shekasha b'dinei mamanis, and this is a difficult ruling when it comes to dinei mamanis. V'leim rulei, because let them say to him, meaning the buyers should be able to say, Avuch mazvin, your father, he sold the property to us. V'at mapik, and you're taking it away, and that's why it's considered a difficult ruling in terms of dinei mamanis. But the Gemara says, Umay koshya, but what's so difficult about this ruling? Dilma motzi amar, maybe he can say, meaning maybe the grandson can say, Mikoach avu da'aba, kasina, I'm coming from the strength of the father of my father. I'm inheriting directly from my grandfather. So of course I'm able to take away the property. It was my grandfather's property. My father sold it, but that was sold inappropriately. And so therefore, from the inheritance I get directly from my grandfather, that property is mine. And the Gemara says, Teda, you should know that that's the case. Tichsib, because it's written in the pasuk. This is a pasuk in Tehillim, Tachas avosecha yubanecha. It says, in the place of your fathers will be your sons. The idea is again that the son is inheriting directly from the grandfather. Tishisemo l'sarim b'chol haaretz, they'll be placed as officers throughout the land. And the Rashbam explains, Teda, you should know, the Chanoch ben Ruven yoresh as Yaakov zekenu, that Chanoch, the son of Ruven, he directly inherits Yaakov, his grandfather, meaning it's direct. It doesn't have to go through his father Ruven. Shalom mikoach Ruven, you don't need the strength of Ruven. Tichsiv, as it's written in the pasuk, again this is the same pasuk in Tehillim, Tachas avosecha yubanecha, it says, instead of your father, in the place of your fathers will be your sons. And lo Ruven kamar, that pasuk is stated to Ruven, meaning Tachas avosecha, in the place of your father, dahainu Yaakov, that's a reference to Yaakov, yubanecha will be your sons, dahainu Chanoch, that refers to Chanoch. That's a direct inheritance from grandfather to grandson. Midolok siv tachtecha yubanecha, it doesn't say in your place are your sons, it says Tachas avosecha, in the place of your fathers, and therefore you see that the inheritance is direct. And so the Gemara continues, Eli ikasha hakasha, rather if there's any ruling which is difficult, it is the following ruling which is difficult. And the Rashbam explains, Eli ikasha hakasha, i'iko l'meimar deshalchu mitam, zuhi shekasha b'dinei mamanis, if there is some kind of message that was sent from there, that was sent from Eretz Yisrael, which is a difficult ruling in dinei mamanis, lav ki haigavna shalchu kidalel, it's not like the message that we had earlier, dehalav kashu, because that's not so difficult. Elohachi shalchu mitam, rather the case that they sent is as follows. And the Gemara continues, Ben Bechor, we're talking about a firstborn son. Shemachar chelik bechora b'chai aviv, and while his father is alive, he sells that extra portion that he would get as a Bechor, again anticipating the fact that he will inherit from his father. Umeis, but then he dies b'chai aviv while his father is alive. Beno motzi miyad halakucho, so his son, again that would be the grandson, could take it away from the buyers. That sale, again, it was not a good sale because he never really inherited that chelik bechora from his father because he died before his father. V'zui shekasha b'dinei mamanis, and again, this is a ruling that is difficult when it comes to monetary matters. Avua mazvin, the father is selling ihu mapik, and he's able to take it away. But the Gemara says again, v'chitema, but maybe you'll say, hachanami, over here also, Amar, he can say, mikoach avua da'aba kasina, I'm coming from the strength of my grandfather. What's so difficult about this ruling? The grandson can say, I'm getting this inheritance directly from my grandfather, and therefore it's no problem that I'm taking it away from the buyers. But the Gemara says, but if he's coming from the strength of his grandfather, what's he doing with a firstborn portion? He's the grandson, is not the firstborn. It's the grandson's father that's the firstborn. But the Gemara still says, Umay kushi, but what's so difficult? Dilma matzi amar, because maybe he can say, I'm coming from the strength of my grandfather, but I'm standing in the place of my father. My father was a Bechor, and therefore I stand to inherit this portion directly from my grandfather, and there's no problem taking it away from the buyers. And the Gemara continues, Eli kasha, rather if there was any ruling that was difficult, hakasha, it's the following ruling that's difficult. Hayodea lo edus bishtar, let's say a person knew testimony and he wrote it up in a document, meaning to say this person was a witness, he signed the document, ad shelo nasa gazlan, and at the time that he signed the document, he wasn't yet a gazlan, he wasn't yet a thief. V'nasa gazlan, but then he became a thief. And so now the issue is, at the time that he signed the document, he was a kosher witness, but right now he's no longer a kosher witness, and so so the halacha is, hu eino meir al ksav yado. He's not able to testify on his own handwriting, on his own signature, because right now he's a gazlan. Aval acherim me'idin, however, other people, they can testify that this is his signature, and that would now be a kosher document. And so why is that difficult? Because hashta now, iu lo mehem, and he's not believed, achrine mehemni, and others are believed, v'zui shakasha b'dinei mamanis. That's a difficulty when it comes to dinei mamanis. And the Rashbam explains, Haya Yodea lo be'idus Ruvain l'Shimon ad shelo nasa Ruvain gazlan. Again, Ruvain knows some testimony with regards to Shimon, and that's before Ruvain was a gazlan. Vaya shmo chasim b'shtar halva'aso shel Shimon, and again his name is signed on this document of Shimon. V'yachragach nasa gazlan, but then he becomes a gazlan. V'nifsal le'edos, he's now disqualified for being a witness. K'dichsiv al toshes yorchim Rasha lios eid chamas, a Rasha can't be a witness. V'yava b'shenem un adam lomar zek savyadi. Now, even though in general a person is believed to say that this is my handwriting, this is my signature, as it's learned in the Mishnah in Ksubis, he no longer is able to testify on his signature, because now anything that he says, we assume it's a lie because he's a gazlan. Or maybe there's an aide who was disqualified, who forged it, or maybe he wrote it today and he signed some lie today. But other people, they can testify this is his signature. Is going to be explained as the Gemara concludes. But right now, it's very difficult in terms of monetary halachas that this could be true. He's not believed to testify about his signatures, but others can testify that it's a signature. Bitmiya, that's a wonder. Maybe just today he actually signed it as a lie. Maybe even the date is false. Because he is a gazlan, just because they recognize his signature, what do we gain by that? Maybe he's disqualified, and why should others be able to testify? But the Gemara continues, my kushya, but what's so difficult about this? Dilma, because maybe what the case over here is, the case is that his signature was already established in Bezdin, and the Rashbam explains, this is called a henpik, when the court already certifies the signature, maybe what happened in this case is that before he became a gazlan, the court already certified the signature. Now you can't say anymore that the problem is that he's a liar right now, because at the time of the certification, he was not a liar, he was not a gazlan. And all they're testifying, the others are testifying that they signed this henpik, and that they had already certified the shtar, before this person was a thief. And again, at that time, he certainly was trusted. At that time also, he would have been trusted to say, this is my signature. But now you can't ask the question anymore that he's not believed and others are believed. Because these others, they're testifying on their own signatures. They're not even testifying on his signature. And therefore the shtar is certified automatically, and this wouldn't pose any difficulty at all. And so the Gemara continues, rather, if there is a ruling that poses a difficulty, it's the following ruling. Let's say he knew testimony again, and he wrote it up in a document. But that was before this particular property ended up falling to him as an inheritance. The case over here is that really the property was supposed to be inherited by somebody else. He knew some testimony about the property. Then it turned out the other person who was supposed to inherit the property, let's say he died, and now suddenly the property that he was testifying about, it now falls to him as an inheritance. So therefore, he is no geya bedavar. He has an interest in this case. So hueino yachol l'kayim ksav yado. So now he's not able to certify his signature. Avol acherim yachol l'kayim ksav yado. But others, they are able to certify his signature. That would be the difficult ruling when it comes to dinei mamanis. But the Gemara says again, my kusha. But still, why is that difficult? Dil mahachanami. Because maybe over here also it's exactly the same case. Kigon shochzak ksav yado bebezin. Maybe already in the court there was a henpik that certified his signature, and really they're just testifying about that certification, and that would pose no difficulty whatsoever. And so the Gemara continues, Eli kasha hakasha, rather if there's a ruling that poses a difficulty, it is the following one. Let's say a person knew testimony, before he became the son-in-law of the person that he was testifying for. And then he became the son-in-law, so now he's not able to be a witness because he's related. So he's not able to testify on his own signature. but others, they are able to testify for his signature. So hulo mehemin achrinim mehemni, again, it's the same difficulty. He's not believed, and the others are believed. Now, if you're going to say, hachanami, here also will give the same answer. We're talking about where Bezdin already certified the signature. We're talking about in a situation of a henpick. But Rav Yosef bar Menyume said that Rav Nachman said, even though there was no certification of a signature in court, still others are able to testify, but he is not able to testify. But the Gemara says to this, Umay Koshe, but what's so difficult? Because Dilma Gezeiras Melechi, but maybe over here, we're not talking here about a person who became a gazlan, a person who's a thief. We're just talking about a person who was related, he became a son-in-law and he can't testify. Well, if we just say that that's just a Gezeiras HaMelech, meaning to say, it's just like a Gezeiras HaKosav, the Torah says for no reason relatives cannot testify for one another. It has nothing to do with the fact that we don't trust them. It's that he himself is not trusted because he's related, but others are believed. Maybe it has nothing to do with the fact that we think he's going to lie, and if you say that, then there's no problem whatsoever. Over here, it's not that we think this person is a liar, it's just a technicality that he can no longer testify, but others would be able to testify. That would not be a difficult ruling at all. And the Gemara proves this is true. Because if you don't say this, Moshe v'Aaron l'chosonam mishum delo mehemnihu. When it comes to Moshe and Aaron testifying for their father-in-laws, do you think it's because we don't trust them, we don't believe them? Of course not. Rather, it's a Gezeres HaKosav, it's a decree from the king, Shelo Yeidu Lahem, that they're not allowed to testify for them because they're related. Hachanami here also, Gezeres Melechu, Shelo Yoed Al Ksav Yodu L'Chosano, it's a Gezeres Melech, it's a Gezeres HaKosav, that one should not testify in his signature on behalf of his father-in-law. And so the Gemara continues, rather, go back to the original answer, that's the answer at the top of the Amud. We're talking about a situation where a son sells property thinking he will inherit it from his father. Then it turns out that the son dies before the father. So now the grandson is able to take that property from the buyers. And you asked on that it seems so obvious, there's no difficulty there whatsoever, because the pasuk says instead of your fathers are your sons, the grandsons inherit directly from the grandfathers. So it could be that pasuk has nothing to do with inheritance. That pasuk is talking about blessings. And the Rashbam explains, Bivrachahu dechsiv, that pasuk is talking about blessings. Shahat tzadikim yeshlem bonim uvnei bonim liyarshim. It's a bracha that tzadikim will have sons and grandsons to inherit them. Kedechsiv b'seifa, like it says at the end of that pasuk, tishisemo l'sarim b'chol haaretz, they'll be set up as princes throughout the land. And so that pasuk has nothing to do with the idea that grandsons inherit directly from the grandfathers. And that's why the ruling is difficult, because the buyers are able to say that your father, he sold us the property and you're taking it away from us. But the Gemara continues, but can you really say that this pasuk is talking about bracha? This pasuk is talking about blessings, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Nun Tes Amud Beis.